Hello everyone, this is Carrie from Your Level Best, and today I'm going to do a Your Level Best approved recipe for Moroccan beef stew that I'm going to do in the slow cooker. So this is actually a more ethnic based recipe. It's one of the things I actually love to do is take world flavors and make something delicious, and I think ethnic food is probably one of those things that not everybody goes for, but I can guarantee you if you try different food, and I'm not talking about Tex-Mex, like Tex-Mex is an Americanized version of Mexican food, but if you really, for example, eat Mexican food, real Mexican food, oh, it's amazing. There are a lot of different flavors that if you've never tried them before, oh, it's to die for. And today I'm actually going to do an African dish. This is actually from Morocco, and it's not necessarily the, I would say, the authentic version, but it's inspired by that. And that's how our recipes can be. They can be inspired by the flavors from around the world. Let me talk about what I have in front of me. I do have some lentils. Again, this is potassium and some good protein for the dish. I also have some pumpkin, which will give us some vitamin A. I also have some parsnips, some carrots, some sweet potato. I also have some red bell pepper, gives us some good vitamin C. I also have some onion. The recipe does call for leeks, but I wasn't able to get any this week, so I'm using onions instead. And I also have some spices in front of me where I have some salt, pepper, I have some cumin, some turmeric, some ginger, and also some cinnamon. So that gives us that more ethnic style spice, as well as some brown sugar to add some sweetness. So what I'm going to do first, of course I've got my beef in front of me. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and add the beef to our olive oil that's been heating up in my pan here, and I'm going to brown that meat. Let me turn that down a little bit. So I'm going to take our beef here, if I can get it off the plate, and I'm going to brown it in the oil here. So what I'm trying to do is get some browning on the meat, and what I also want to do is get that browning on the bottom of the pan as well, because one of the things that browning the meat does is it acts as a way to create more flavor. So creating the flavor is very important. So I'm going to brown this, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's completely browned. One of the things I'm doing with this, I'm not completely cooking the meat. I'm actually getting some nice browning on the top. And you can see here that there is plenty of browning on this particular meat. And then you can also see, might be a little harder to see, there's brown bits on the bottom of this particular pan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift the lid here on my slow cooker. I'm going to use a plate to transfer this to my slow cooker. And now I'm going to add a little bit, be very careful, there's oil in this pan. I'm going to add a little bit of water to loosen up any of the bits on the bottom of this pan, which is going to help clean it as well. There is a method to the madness here, so it's going to get all of that stuff off the bottom here, which I'm able to do. And now I'm going to actually unplug this to make this a little bit safer. And I'm going to grab my pan here, and I'm going to put these juices into the slow cooker here. And what that's doing is it's adding flavor to the dish. So That's very important. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of the ingredients in this dish, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this started. So let me put in my potatoes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put some of my heartier stuff in first. The parsnips. And I'm gonna put in my carrots. And I'm going to do my lentils. Now the lentils, again, I expect these to break down, so these are not going to be whole at the end. I'm going to go ahead and put in my onions. My red bell pepper. And the pumpkin. And I'm going to move that down a little bit. And the pumpkin is doing some vitamin A, but I'm also doing that as a substitute for tomatoes. I'm also using the red bell pepper as a substitute for tomatoes as well. So that actually helps a bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my spices. Now, one of the spices I did forget to put in front of me was some garlic. The original recipe calls for garlic infused oil, and that's something you can either make yourself or do what I'm doing right now and actually adding some garlic to the dish. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this garlic in here. So you still get the garlic flavor, and I actually like a stronger garlic flavor. If you don't, you can always put in some whole garlic cloves and do those and fish them out at the end. So I'm gonna add my brown sugar, my salt and pepper, and then my spices. So this is gonna make this a real North African dish. So Morocco is actually in the northern part of Africa. Even though it's probably considered closer to Middle Eastern, it's actually in the north of Africa. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to put this on low for 8 hours. Now, if you don't have that kind of time, you can also do it on high for 4 to 5 hours. It just depends on what kind of time you have. And you notice I didn't put a lot of liquid into this because the beef is actually going to generate its own liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, set the timer for 8 hours, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. Hello everyone and welcome back. And it's been 8 hours since I put the slow cooker on and cooked this stew. And oh, the smell in the house, I wish you could smell this, smells so good because of all of the spices that we put in it. So let's take a look at it in the pot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit more yellow because of the turmeric, but you can see the pieces of shredded beef. And one thing I did forget to do when I put this together, there's also some pickled banana peppers that are part of this particular dish that I didn't put in at the beginning, but I remembered it a little bit later, so I put them in later. So you've got also the pickled banana peppers. You also have the lentils that have broken down and some of the potatoes that have broken down. You also have a little more sauce. I actually did end up adding a little bit more water to this because it was a little dry when I went to go shred the beef. So I added some water so that it wasn't going to be too dry. So let me put some in a bowl here for you. And oh, I think you're going to love the looks of this. And And wow. You can see all of the vegetables and the beef, and you can even see a little bit of the lentils. You could tell that there's some of that in there as well, but the smell is incredible. So this is a dish that has plenty of protein, plenty of vitamin A, plenty of vitamin C, your potassium. It has everything. So this is a particular dish that you can eat and feel good about getting all of your nutrients for the day. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Go to yourlevelbest.net and download the recipe and the full instructions so you can make this yourself. If you love it, please let us know in the comments. Check out the blog post and rewatch this again if you want to see it done again. And we'll see you next time.